Welcome to the last installment of CD-Rom to Art, Part 2. This time we're printing our CD-Rom with an etching press. And don't worry, if you don't have an etching press, it's no big deal. Check out the link above to see how to print at home with excellent results. So let's get started. Now, it's very important. The first thing you need to do is set up your press. And I act like I'm printing, but I'm not. I'm just setting up my press to make sure I have the correct pressure. The few minutes spent will make a big difference and save you loads of time. Now that we have our press set up, let's get to the rest of our supplies. So you'll need a pan, and you're going to fill that pan up with water just deep enough to soak your paper. Take the paper that you want to print on and put it in the pan. Make sure it's soaked and gets wet on all sides, just like that. And then you're going to leave it while we ink up. Then you'll need either towels, or in this case, I'm in my classroom, so I'm using paper towels since none of our towels are really clean. So you're going to take that and you're going to lay it next to the pan of water while your paper's soaking. So see, I have my paper towels and then I got my pan. So when it's time to blot our paper, we are ready to go. Next, get out a scrap piece of paper to protect your surface, and then place your CD-Rom shiny side up on top. Then grab your etching ink. So I'm using Akua Intaglio Ink. It's non-toxic. We use that in school, but you can use whatever etching ink you like. And I use foil to place my ink on because it's easy cleanup. You'll also need something to scoop the ink out. We're not using much, so in this case, I'm using a chopstick, and you'll need some gloves. To add the ink to the CD-Rom, I'm just using thick pieces of scrap watercolor paper left over from other projects. Any thick paper will work. You'll also want a torn paper of either newspaper or a magazine. This feels like newspaper, but it's just out of the recycle bin because this will help us wipe our ink. Make sure to go ahead and tear it up before you add ink to your CD-Rom. It will save you time. One last thing to do before we ink up, we need extra pieces of newsprint paper. So when we print, we have it, plus a scrap piece of paper to lay down on the bed of our press. Go ahead and place it on there so you're ready to go. It's finally time to ink up. So grab your gloves, put them on, and let's go. Open up your ink after you put on your gloves. You'll be so glad you did. And then give it a good stir so that it's all mixed up if you haven't used it in a while. Take a little bitty bit out because it won't take much to do this. Recap your ink so you don't accidentally knock it over. I found out that the hard way quite a few times. So now you're going to take your scrap pieces of watercolor paper or other thick paper, and you're going to card on ink over the top of your CD-Rom. Now remember, the more ink you add on, the more ink you have to wipe off to reveal your design. So try not to add globs of ink. You're just adding enough so that it presses into the design. You can also use your fingers to help it get into the grooves. Remember, we're working with plastic, so don't use anything scratchy to help you apply the ink. Next, go ahead and grab your extra little pieces of paper, you know, the ones that you tore up, and it's time to wipe away the excess ink to reveal our design. So what happens is we wipe off the top of the surface, and whatever ink is left inside the grooves and scratches, that's what prints. This process of wiping will take a few minutes, but it is just as important as scratching the design into your CD-Rom. And you can choose how much ink you wipe away. So the more you wipe, the more the shiny surfaces become clean, and then they'll print the color of your paper. The less you wipe, the darker everything remains. Make sure to also wipe around the middle of the whole of the CD-Rom and on the outside edges as well. That way you don't have any excess ink that blots out onto your paper. One last check, and now it's time to walk to the press. Keep your gloves on while you're handling your plate and place it on that scrap piece of paper you've already placed in advance on the bed of the press. Then remove your gloves. My hands are a little dirty from working earlier, but that's okay. They're relatively clean. You can always wash them off. Go ahead and grab one of the pieces of paper that was soaking, and you're going to place that paper on the towel or paper towels that you put out. So you're going to blot it, and you're going to make sure you keep on blotting until the shiny excess water is removed. It will still be damp. You just don't want it to be shiny. When you're good to go, go ahead and place it on top of your CD-Rom. You can't really reposition it once you place it down, so take a second and go slow. Next, take one of the thin pieces of newsprint and place it over the top. We always want to protect our press. Then lower down the felt blankets. It's time to print. So this is like my favorite part. You're just going to turn the wheel, and you're going to turn the wheel until your CD-ROM comes out the other side. When it rolls over the CD-ROM, you'll probably feel a little increase in the pressure. Then once it's out, you'll take the felt blankets, you'll move them out of the way, and then you'll reveal your print. Oh my gosh, it's just like magic. And the CD-ROM is good for more than one print. You can print it again and again. It is amazing that we took a piece of discarded old tech and we turned it into art. Congratulations. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and there'll be many more, many more, because I love this stuff. So I'll see you next time, and I think next time we will be tearing down paper. Have a fantastic day and happy arting.